Okie dokie. So welcome everybody to the Your Desired Success Foundation Mastermind, spreading across the world, plenty of value, and it's all around paying it forward with the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done unto you. Now, when we start looking at the power of the mastermind, Napoleon Hill, the world famous author of one of the most well-known books of success, Think and Grow Rich, he did say it is the principle through which you may borrow and use the education, the experience, the influence, and perhaps even the capital of other people in carrying out your own plans in life. It is the principle through which you can accomplish in 1 year more than you could accomplish without it in a lifetime if you depended entirely on your own efforts for success. So, this is the important thing of us coming together and being open to share and listen and what we call activating the universal law of giving and receiving. So we've all got our numbers. So if you'd like to start us off there, Diane.
Okay, so the purpose of the mastermind is to share our value and connect with like-minded people in order to create wealth in all areas of our life.
We are here to inspire and challenge each other to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every week.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
We trust fellow members enough to share fully.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
Oh, I am so happy this has landed on me. We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love. Oh, thanks, Lynette, for sacrificing that one for me. It's been a while since I've said that one. Thoroughly enjoy that.
For us all.
So thank you, ladies, for setting the foundation of the call. So we're all aware that we are here with open hearts, ready to receive as well as to give. And the topic for today is your wealth reality. So what I'd really like us to take a moment to think about, and I'll give you an example to help this flow, is what wealth has meant throughout your life to you. For a lot of people, especially in society, it's based around money. What wealth has meant for you and how you've come to understand what it truly means to you right now, especially as you know, we're all here for a reason, which is we want more for our lives. We want to make a bigger impact. We want to actually share our value, create our level of understanding towards our purpose. And because of us choosing to shift through that and ask the questions, we're all here really on a journey of self-mastery, which out of respect is never achieved. So the focus around this, your wealth reality, looking at it as in what the wealth means to you now. Because I know growing up, wealth to me was around finances. It was actually the money that was in the bank, how I viewed other people based on what they had achieved. And especially when I shifted into like network marketing, for example, in 2013, all the wealth talk was around money and buying the BMWs, the Mercedes, having the mansion, then going having the boats and so on. And it was something that you give all this energy, and then what you do is you receive this money and you go and buy all these things. That was wealth to me. And it's been really interesting how one would say maybe it's come with age, and they say wisdom comes with age, is that all of a sudden start looking at wealth in other areas outside of just finances. And one of the things that really hit me, especially when I was actually listening to the audio of Think and Grow Rich, where Napoleon actually says in it, now make a note, out of the 12 areas we've just spoken about, money was the last one. And that really hit me hard then. And I went, wow, money was the last one. So why has it been such a like, in all fairness, the main one for me throughout most of my life? And that made me start expanding my own reality around wealth and started to look and go, well, what are the relationships I've got? You know, I love it. I can walk into a room full of people and just start talking. There's no problem about that. I mean, I'm pretty confident you all believe that as well. But I never used to be like that. When I now go and I'm able to have these conversations and build relationships with people and create a connection, and the relationships that I have are wealth to me. They're important to me because the conversations that are helping me grow, especially this mastermind right now, we're going to hear different views, different experiences, and me choosing to be open to them is helping me become more abundant in the wealth of knowledge and the wealth of understanding to be able to help other people on the journey as well. So it's expanded for myself. The wealth is now all areas around in regards to what am I experiencing? What's my relationships like? How am I connecting with self? What am I choosing to share and give to the world? What am I willing to receive as well? And finance, don't get me wrong, money's still in there, but it's not leading the charge. The service, the value, the relationships. And that's one of the things that I've really come to be consciously aware of right now, is that when I'm communicating with people, it's not about the end result of the sale or the contract agreement. It's about, hey, I feel the energy between us right now. I'm aligned with where you're at. And I would really love to be able to say right now that this connection that we have and relationship we're building is infinite. It is not finite in any way, shape, or form. It is infinite. And whilst we're here in this physical life, we are going to grow. We're going to enjoy this adventure together. So that's what wealth, my reality has become now. So does anybody want to share a bit more around what it is for them? And or if none of that made sense, perfectly fine. The floor is yours, ladies, and any guys watching this will be amazed that no ladies speaking already.
Can't he be as cheeky as he likes when he's on the other end, you know, miles away from all of us? It'll come back to you, mate. It'll come back to you.
I'd be saying an elephant never forgets.
oh, building them up, are we? We're building them up. Are we counting these girls? Martin, thank you for this topic. To bring me back to what wealth is, it's very easy for me to get focused, as you say, on financial wealth and really bring that to the fore. But what I have been conscious of is that when I was in my 30s and I had chronic fatigue syndrome, so I've learned about the wealth of health. And it's interesting that recently I've been putting more effort into my health, maintaining my health, but not really seeing it at the moment until now of it as being wealthy. I just, you know, it's just something that I've been doing, but it is very much, and health is high on my priorities. And I've been aware lately of how much more I'm focusing on maintaining good health. Just as a standard, because that to me is wealthy. And the other thing that really also stemmed from having the chronic fatigue, that was my turnaround, and realizing that I'm here to serve, and that to serve I need to gain knowledge and experience. And trust me, I've had plenty of that over the years, to be able to do what I do. And for many years, I didn't recognize my wealth of knowledge. I got pregnant at 15, left school, had a baby at 16, got married, had a second baby at 18, and never considered myself educated. So I never saw myself as being at the same level as anybody else, even though I did go back to college, and the amount of training I've done since has been phenomenal, and I've got an advanced diploma. But I didn't even recognize that as a wealth of knowledge And it's only recently that I've not only recognized the wealth of knowledge. I think about 3 years ago, I spent over $100,000 in 1 year just on training. And that was just training. That wasn't accommodation. That wasn't flights. It was all over the world. And I went, hell, this is a bloody degree. Sorry, Rosa. This is a degree. You know, this is a lot of value, a lot of wisdom that I'm gaining here. And it's only really been probably the last 2 or 3 years when I've truly started to acknowledge the wealth of wisdom gained through experience, not gained through knowledge, but gained through experience. And only probably the last 3 years started to recognize the value of that and how wealthy I am because of that. So thank you for this morning. It's really brought me back. I have been focusing on financial wealth lately, but this has been really good to pull me back in a way. You know, I am, especially when I look around me at the moment, I am incredibly wealthy in health, and I'm incredibly wealthy in knowledge and wisdom. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Don't hold back, ladies. Go for it. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you, Lisa. Go for it, Veronica.
Yes, Lisa, definitely. I was going to say health is wealth, but it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Without it, it's like, it's the most important thing. And for me as well, it's just to be healthy and just quality of life more than quantity. My experience of wealth has been very up and down. I mean, I grew up in a caravan, very much gypsy lifestyle with just no money ever. Everything was short. There was so much scarcity. It was ridiculous. So I went from that to becoming an accountant because obviously I wanted to experience the other end of the scale. So and ended up in at one stage I had 4 properties, and now it's kind of, I live in a house that I don't own, but it's my home, and my home is also my wealth. It's my sanctuary, and it's so important to me. And yeah, there's definitely other areas of wealth. I mean, the money's just a tool, but and keeping track of that is certainly still important for me. But the wealth comes from other areas. The money's just how you get it. That's all.
Mine's been mainly my family. Like, you know, for me, I recognised very early in my life that all I ever wanted to be was that stay-home mum and have my children and be the best version of me for them. So they've always been my wealth, you know. My life's been completely devoted to that. And then obviously going through my experience with my dad, the other side of that is that, you know, massive unconditional love and the wealth of what we got out of that 33 months with him was so much deeper. So even through some of the sad times, you can still have some, you know, profound experiences that, you know, money can't buy. So money's never been that big on my list until probably as I'm getting older. You know, I want, you know, now I, as you're coming towards retirement age, not wanting to sit on pensions and stuff, that sort of is now becoming more of a focus. But even my friendships, I haven't had a lot, but the quality and of my friendships is what makes me, and that's where I feel wealthy, that I'm surrounded by lots of people that, you know, I don't have a lot, but what I do have do genuinely love and care, and to me that's the biggest wealth in my life.
Well,
I agree with
Lynette.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with everyone too. Like growing up, you think money is everything, We didn't have a great lot, but we did, you know, we had an abundance of food, and there was, you know, we never lacked in anything. But yeah, it's not really until I started on my personal development journey that you actually thought of wealth in other areas apart from money. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me. And yeah, health definitely is one of the major things, and relationships is another biggie too. So yeah, I've been focusing on other areas of wealth apart from money. But yeah, as you I think it was Veronica said, you know, money, it allows you to do things, and you need it for experiences and that. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you for sharing so far, ladies. Come on, Mother, you were going in before.
Well, I was going to let Kylie go first because
Okay.
you put her finger up well ages ago.
Oh,
So.
Carly's always playing the orchestra, trying to jump in, so don't worry about Carly. And remember, I'd like you to think of it like this, ladies. I've thrown a load of food down, and if you don't get in and eat, you're going to starve. So you respect when somebody's in there, but as soon as they come to the end, you're in. Or I'm taking the food away and eating it myself and be the big boss in the corner, chubby as hell. There you go.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with what Veronica was saying about, it wasn't a caravan for me, it was literally a hut. My father was a prisoner of war in England. My mother came over from Italy, from southern Italy, with 2 young children. And all we had was a hut. There was no running water, there was no electricity in this. So I was brought up by parents who didn't really understand the English way of life, and my mother couldn't really speak a lot of English, so we used to have to go everywhere with her. And I was always brought up to think that I was the one that would stay at home and look after my mum and dad in my old age, because that's what they did in them days. So that absolutely petrified me, because I had a life to live. And I think for me, the fact that that never happened, one, I lost my mother very when I was young, but it didn't happen. And I was allowed to start living my life. And obviously I got my 2 boys, that was amazing. And that's where it all started to fall into place for me. When I had my boys, I realized that it wasn't about the house you lived in, but I was always like that. I've never been materialistic. But I think it came home to me more when Martin's dad and I split up, and I eventually met Dave, and Dave and I started living together. And Dave's a Yorkshireman, and for those of you who know Yorkshiremen, they're always poor. There's never any money. And he used to say to me, we'll never have any money. And I used to say, Dave, we don't need the money. Look at what we've got. We've got an amazing lifestyle. We go out every weekend, dance till 2, 3 in the morning. We've got a fantastic group of friends. We've got a beautiful little house. We don't need, what more do we need? And for me, I didn't need, I had my boys. Well, Martin was still here then. Had my boys, you know, I was going to be a grandma. I had everything, and I still have everything, although Martin's the other side of the world. And it's about sitting back and looking outside what there is, looking within what there is. And money is there, but it's way down. It'll always be there, because I know it'll always be there. And that's what I feel. I feel it's within me how I want to be. So that's my wealth.
Awesome. Great share, Mum. Carly.
I was just thinking how I got so much wealth out of everyone so far, what they've shared, like the wealth in that. I grew up with the belief you had to work hard to get ahead, and that wealthy people were greedy, and that unless I had a good paying job at a certain level of money, I wasn't valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a valuable human being. And I got validated that as well growing up anyways. I got bullied, but when I got to adult and I was working, unless I was earning good money, so I had to work 150% hard, more than 100%, to earn enough money to equal the value of other people that were only working 40 hours. And so I've always had that poverty lack in our family. And all of my family in the last 10 years since I've been doing spiritual wealth have all gotten out of poverty, even my mum and dad. And so I'm like the last one. And so valuing myself for my uniqueness is where I'm up to receive my wealth in that. And I know money's not the root of all evil, because with money you can change the world. You can help so many people. You can help, I mean, it's all about being kind. So if you have a lot of money, you can be so kind to the people that can't afford food, can't afford drinking water. Like, you can help so many people. And so the benefit in that, everyone wins. That's the value of money. Sure, there's greedy people out there, but there's not as many as them as there are people that have a heart, and that's the true value of wealth. Kindness and love.
Yeah, beautiful share, Carly. Thank you. And it reminded me of since we did the 3.5 to 4 day event a couple of weeks ago, I told you all that I was blown away with the Wizard of Oz movie we watched, and he narrated through it and told us what all the meanings were behind it. And then we've got into Star Wars. And all I remembered from the Star Wars movies was these big, like, robotic dogs shooting. That's all I remembered from the Star Wars movies. And I was probably, goodness, I was hanging out with Paul O'Malley. My mum will remember Paul. So I was probably around about 10 at the time. I know you all think I'm 27, but I was probably about 10 back then. And watching these movies is really, I mean, I've had some big shifts and realizations. And one of the things that I was saying to Beth this morning when we were out walking was the people who we classed as good, the light, were killing people. And the people who were the dark, the bad people, were killing people. So everybody is capable of it. So that thing of, and I love what, one of the things that was brought up at the event was around Donald Trump. And some of us straight away are going to have a negative attachment, and some of us maybe have a positive attachment. And it's not about that. One of the things that was said at the event was, do you realize that Donald Trump's been nominated for 3 Nobel Prizes? And to be nominated takes a lot. And a lot of the stuff that we hear about is stuff that the media wants us to hear about. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that there's anybody, I'm not going to say I know, because I don't know, but I don't believe there's anybody who cannot say they have never done what we class as wrong, whether it be to themselves or to somebody else, even a thought. So then all of a sudden, one of the things we joke about is if we got the leads to some speakers and plugged it into our ears and it literally boomed out what we're thinking, we'd hope the volume was turned down, because a lot of that is negative, either self-talk or to others at times. And we often catch ourselves out. So it's really interesting how a lot of things have been shifting for me, and that's helped create the wealth and see the wealth in the reality, especially when we shift into the money. and start implementing the gratitude. And, you know, even like I used to say to myself, I'm blind, you know, because of my glasses, you know, I'm like -7 or something like that. And I go, I'm bloody blind. Well, no, I'm not. I've actually got great eyesight compared to somebody who doesn't have eyesight. So it was being grateful then and implementing that and going, wow, I have sight. How wealthy is that? And the little things that we often take for granted because we go, well, every human being from the moment they're born should be perfect, should have at least sight, hearing, all the senses. And some of us will go, well, there's more than 5 senses. Well, like the basics of what we have to function, even getting out of bed in the morning and putting my feet on the ground, like to get up and move around. It's like, wow. And I've been having these incredible realizations of late around the true wealth that I have, that I often look outside for the wealth that I have. And I think that that's something that we can all really take the time to be aware of. And maybe since we've been, a few of us are doing the 90-day success challenge, I think quite a lot of that has been shifting as well, because the first section of that is all about self. And it's really made me return back and go, hey, and become aware of, I was putting external things as more important to me than filling my own cup and appreciating the wealth that I have. Go for it, Veronica.
Yeah, that 90-day challenge is shifting a lot of stuff for me. And I'm finding, like, when, you know, we're talking about wealth, but when I look at my gratitude in the morning, I'm doing like 20 gratitude things. None of them talk about money. None of them talk about money. They're talking about relationships. They're talking about, you know, what surrounds me, the energy around me, the, you know, the beauty around me, and the people that I'm speaking to and interacting with. Yeah. So there's a whole new perspective on wealth if you just look at what you're grateful for, I guess.
Sorry.
Go Rosa. Go Rosa.
No, go on. You go down.
Yeah, just when we're talking about that, I've got 2 things that were running through my head when we talked about money and stuff. Is, you know, I worked for a guy for over 10 years who was doing everything to chase the money, and he set up his business and everything so that he knew that when he sold it, he would make millions of dollars. But he was very, very smart businessman, and what he put together was amazing. And he got there and he achieved that goal. But what he failed to do through that time was nurture his own relationship with his wife and kids. And, you know, he retired at 35 or something like that, but to a broken marriage in the end. And it literally stripped him of everything, because it took another 10 years of fighting in courts and everything else, where she's walked away with a massive big mansion, millions of dollars in cash, and he's got a struggling business now because he's had to pay all of that. Courts don't care that he actually didn't have that money. He had to provide it anyway. So, you know, I look at his life and I see the struggles when all his focus was money, and now he doesn't have any of it. You know, and now we're going through this COVID time, and I see him really struggling. So his quality of life, you know, has deteriorated, and he doesn't know where to go from here. And then on the other side of that, I've got my dad who, you know, Martin, you're talking about being seeing and putting your feet on the ground and things like that. You know, perspective changes over time too. You know, like Dad lost the ability to do all of those things in the end. But his quality, his wealth, and that was us, the love that he felt for us. So whilst we originally were fighting for quality of life, for him to be able to go out and enjoy going to lunches and you know, living a normal life that we all think is normal, for him, you know, that last 8 months was all about, I still get to see my family and feel their love and stuff. Or the other alternative is he's not here, you know. So, and his doctor was amazed at one point when he came to the house and says, but he's so happy. Like, he's getting lifted around by a hoist, and, you know, he's in a nappy, and he's just looking at my dad going, how are you so happy? Like, why are you happy? And I said, because we surround him with love and laughter every single day, and he's doing the same with us. So quality and, you know, and that wealth, you know, it's, to me, it's bigger than all the material stuff, you know, but all of that stuff comes from, you know, what we learn along those journeys as well. We can share with other people to help give them that. And that's where the money will come, in us being able to give back.
Yeah, and that is powerful wealth right there, the wealth of knowledge. One of the things that when we're listening to the law of increase at the moment, and Bob Proctor says, to me, through me, to you, through you. So the ability for it to come into me and then let it out to you, for you, it's coming to you and then you pass it on. And it's that continuous chain of passing this information, this wealth on to people. And, you know, we can all say that there's been times when we've been given incredible wealth of knowledge and information, and we haven't chosen to act on that. And they often say that if you want to go and walk in an area that's worth billions and billions of dollars, go and walk in a cemetery, because there's all the thoughts there that were never actually actioned on. And you think about that, and I know that Les Brown, when I first started getting into personal development, he was saying, you know, don't let your dreams and your hopes and your desires and the gift that you came here to provide to the whole of humanity die with you and be buried with you. Get out there and just let it out. It's better to, I mean, they said it's better to love than experience love than nothing. But just get out there and give it a go, especially if it aligns. And that's where we start to understand and really connect with the true power of the wealth, the hero's journey, Veronica. Absolutely. Yeah, powerful one, that. Used in many movies. Thanks for sharing that, Diane, as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to just loop back to Veronica. We talk about gratitude, and if we really look at it, gratitude is the state of wealth. It's the vibration of wealth. It doesn't matter doesn't matter whether we're looking at finances, knowledge, family, anything. When we have gratitude in that area, we have wealth. End of story.
Yeah.
Lisa Bowen, just sorry, Carly. I just want to say this. Lisa Bowen has just bowed out.
What?
I said Lisa Bowen has just bowed out. She just went, wealth, gratitude is the state of wealth. End of story, and then muted herself. But Lisa's just bowed out. Bye, everyone. I've done what I came here to do.
Very good. Yes, and with gratitude, the value of validation. Like when we validate a young child, the wealth in that is exponentially a ripple effect for their whole life. When we validate a child's value, and I know that growing up I didn't have that, so I know the people that had that are the people that are successful in my age group now, and I'm still getting there. And so I know there's huge value in appreciation of humans individually, families, where we weren't validated as a valuable person, even as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, affects our whole life, and it affects humanity, because one ripple effect of me not valuing myself affects many others to not value their self. Like it's an energy transfer in that.
I totally agree with you, Kelly, and I think the thing is, and perhaps Lisa can run with me on this one, is that it's only, like, I'm in my 60s, And I only started this journey on personal development when I was about 61, 62, as Martin started to progress. So I started to watch what Martin was doing, and I started to take note of what he was doing and start to get involved. But I think like for myself growing up, I was never validated. And I don't think, to be fair, I validated Martin and Kevin either. But now when you see me with my grandchildren, because I have learned how important it is. Kevin, I mean, Martin doesn't really see me much with my three, but Kevin, who's the father, he does. And he's like, are you, is this really you, mother? Because obviously you are different with your grandchildren, but it's my way, the way I speak to them, my attitude towards them. Yeah, I think you're so right. And I think we're learning. The more you speak to younger people like your age, Martin's age, they're bringing their children up in a totally different way. And when you watch my daughter-in-law, the way she speaks to her three children, it's magical. She even speaks to the dog the same. And I look at her and I think, it's the dog, give it a clout. But no, she doesn't. She speaks to, and it's lovely. It really is. It's a far, I mean, she don't let them cross the line, but it's a far nicer way. You watch Dave's daughter doing it with her too. And it really is nice to see it. Whereas that's not how I was definitely not brought up. And I didn't bring my boys up like that. I mean, I was the fear of the street. Don't upset Rosa. Yeah. So, yeah.
Most feared woman of North Road was Rosa Ball at the time, when she was Rosa Ball. And it's a really good point you made there, and I'd love to ask a question then, especially with what Lisa had said, because Lisa had said, I don't think validated was even a word when we grew up, Rosa. So with regards to that then, do you feel that back then, in the time when you were kids, that affection and love wasn't demonstrated by your parents, and there was certainly a clear divide, as in the female is at home and she looks after the family and she does the chores, and the guy goes off to work and then comes home? And do you feel that would be a reality of it?
I do feel that. I mean, I was loved. There was no doubt about that. My mum was amazing. I know everybody's mum's amazing, but I was loved. But there was that the women did the work. And I mean, like, I have a brother. There's 4 girls and 1 boy. You can imagine that in an Italian family. So my brother would come, and there's 2 girls either side of him. So my brother would come home from work, have his tea with all of us, and then he would get he would get on the settee and fall asleep. Now the girls had to sit on the floor, and we used to say, and we'd been at work, and we used to say, get him off the settee. No, he's been working. He's worked hard, your brother, today. You know. Yeah. Dave's just coming now. So it was very, although there was a lot of love, there was this divide where the women made, I mean, you go to Italy now, it's still the same, especially down south.
Can't say anything wrong in that.
Shh. The women.
Hello, Dave.
There he is. There's the Yorkshireman. Yeah, so I just think it was, we were loved, but there wasn't any time for us. Don't forget there was 5 of us, so divorcing mum.
Well,
yeah.
my experience was a little bit different than that, but I think, Rosa, there was very much, we were still living on the tail of children should be seen and not heard. And I think there was still very much that unwritten, unspoken belief that children were here and adults were here, and the two didn't mix. I had a very unusual upbringing. My father had bipolar and suicided when I was 9, and my mother lived on the edge all her life. Yeah, she didn't have anything to give us because she was in existent survival mode the whole time. She had 4 kids. I was the oldest at 9. She had no social services in those days. The insurance wouldn't pay out because it was suicide, so she had nothing. She went for a job interview on the day of his funeral, and I can't even begin to imagine what that was like. But she had nothing to give us. It wasn't that she didn't want to, but she had nothing to give. But when my father was alive, and I experienced both sides. So when my father was alive, he was a potter, and he often worked from home, and she was a teacher, and was often at work. And they had what I would call a genuine equal relationship, in that whoever was there did what needed to be done. There was no job roles in our family at that time. If he was home and it was dinner time, he cooked. If she was home and it was dinner time, she cooked. If the floor needed vacuuming, whoever was there at that time vacuumed. So there was no, I was very lucky that I wasn't brought up gender specific. And although we were 4 girls, we had boys' toys as well. And we were really encouraged to be who we were. When my mum remarried, when I was about 13, I think. No, I must have been about 11 or 12. She married a farmer, and she did a 180-degree turnaround when my half brother was born. So she brought us up to believe that girls can do anything they want to. And yet when my brother came along, she totally turned around, and he was brought up so differently than the rest of us. And what is interesting, I discovered later on in life, is that my sister next to me, she's only 18 months younger, she and I grew up believing we could do anything we wanted to. She's a truck driver, she's been a builder, she's done all masculine jobs. She's a truck driver now in the UK. And yet the 2 youngest grew up believing they couldn't do anything. And I didn't realize that until later on, talking to them, that they grew up because my brother was the man. He was, everything was about my brother. So they grew up believing that as women, they weren't capable of doing anything. And yet my sister and I, who grew up on the other side, we had longer, obviously, of being taught that we can do whatever we want. But the love came from my grandparents, my father's parents. There was obviously a lot of guilt around what had happened. There was, suicide creates all sorts of stuff. But I won't say they overcompensated, but we spent a lot of time with my grandparents, on my father's side. And they gave love in the way that they knew how. It would be, we would be sitting down, they would read to us, and we'd all be sitting on their lap while they were reading to us. It wasn't individual hugs and kisses and validation, but it was creating that sense of safe space that we had. So it's not what would be perceived now as validating and loving, but we were, it was a different way. But I think life was just very different then. And our parents, they'd come through the war. I can't even begin to imagine what that was like. They were clutching on to what they knew in a world that was rapidly changing, through the war, and just trying to keep going. And this is what we do, and we can see this now. It's that when things are changing around us, we try and hold on to what we know, that one thing that stays the same, so that we can feel in control of something. So I certainly think that parents today have it a lot harder because there's so much more pressure. We didn't know what we didn't know. Whereas now, there's so much information out there. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't, because for every information that says this, there's some information that says the exact opposite. So it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be wrong. We didn't have any of that. We didn't have that pressure that I see parents having today. But then on the other hand, I see parents having a much better relationship with their children. And I love what I see. So there's swings and roundabouts. I wouldn't be who I am now if I hadn't had that upbringing. I really wouldn't. So I'm grateful for it. I'm truly grateful for it. There's times when I wish I'd brought my children up differently. But it is what it is. And I also believe that, we have a soul contract, and we made that soul contract to get what we needed out of each other, whether it's what we like or not. It's a whole new thing. But I believe that everything is exactly as it needs to be at all times, whether I like it or not.
Can I just say there, Lisa, that being the youngest of 5 and bringing up my 2 boys, I used to look at how the others had done it, I couldn't do it like they did it, because I'm quite a ratty, lose it like that. I can just go. And Martin's got some wonderful stories. And I used to wonder, and I look back on the times, but when I was in my 30s, late 30s, I wondered why I was so different from my sisters and my brothers, why I did. And then, but it took me a long time to realise, I'm scared in 27. It took me a long time to realise that at that time I was doing my best, and I was trying to look after them in a way I thought was right. What I didn't realise was that I was trying to look after them like everybody else was looking after them. And that wasn't me. And it was only when I hit my 40s did I realise, late 30s, did I realise that I hadn't actually done anything wrong. I was me, and I was trying to bring them up like my other sisters. And that's when it all started to change for me, and I started to get a different aspect. And I have learned not to regret anything that I did, because I did it at that moment and at that time. And I do that with my parents. I don't regret anything my parents did for me, because everything they did at that moment and at that time, they were doing it out of love or concern, or because I tipped them over the edge. And I think I learned from all the lessons that they gave me.
And Martin, I would say that you probably did better to have Rosa as your mum than me, because I was like a bottle of Tizer or Lucozade that had been shaken up. I would go off. The only difference is that my kids lived with their dad for 8 years, because I really wasn't. It really wasn't my thing at all. So I think you probably got the best one. And Martin, whether you like it or not, on a soul level, you made that decision. You chose your parents.
Absolutely, Lisa, and it was actually Veronica touched on something actually, which I'll return back to. I didn't realize that from the soul level in regards to already choosing who my parents, my brother, and so on, until I really connected with a lot of Wayne Dyer's work. And when Veronica, you mentioned earlier around Wayne Dyer said, "Don't let your music die with you." I remember when I heard him say that, I just burst out into tears, because at the time it was actually when I was suicidal, and I realized that there was music still in me, and I was going to end the song. So that was really where I started to shift. And the movie, if you haven't seen it as well, you can watch it on YouTube, The Shift. That's what it's called. It's just absolutely incredible. And I went through a period where I watched it twice a month religiously and got something more from it every time. And there was just incredible shifts throughout that experience. And it is, I think it really helps you Wayne in particular really helped me see the beauty in everything, not just right now, but my past. And you mentioned earlier as well, I think, Veronica, around forgiveness. That was something that I really embodied then. And once again, it was through Wayne's teachings, and the way that he explained it really resonated with me, and I could understand it. And yeah, what's that? Lisa Bowen, Finding the Gorgeous in You. Fantastic. And that was like all of that, and choosing to go through this, and even recently at the other event, the first one in August, I actually forgave my father for a lot of stuff, and this one that we did a couple of weeks ago, I forgave my brother, and as well as throughout them forgiving self, and I worked through it with my mom as well, and all this stuff, even though, and it was really interesting because I remember when they were saying, at one of the points they said, "Who have you worked on?" I said, "Oh, my dad and my brother," and they're like, "Right, you're working on your mum next." Like, I don't need to work on my mum. My mum and I have a great relationship. I've got on with my wife, and like, that's why you need to work on it. Like, okay. And there was so many. There was a list. it was like a toilet roll list of all the bad things she had done to me over the years. No, I'm joking. And but it was like there was a lot that was actually that I wasn't aware of that had affected me, and choosing to be grateful for everything as to what she had taught me, because as really reality is I am who I am because of every single past experience, and every experience that I'm having right now is making me who I am. So it's been incredible to receive that knowledge and that wealth from other people and absorb it and let it come into me, and then choose to go out there and share it with others by choosing to embody it and be the best version of myself, knowing that, hey, tomorrow or even a minute from now, I'm going to be an even better version of myself, which then becomes the wealth and the reality of it. Lisa, I know that you wanted to say something, I think, when you showed us your book. No?
I've put it in the chat, Martin.
Oh.
What we've talked about today, I cover an awful lot of that in my book. It's just literally all the things I've accumulated, the knowledge and wisdom I've accumulated over the years, both on my own recovery from chronic fatigue and as a therapist working with clients for 14 years. So that's, yeah, just everything you were talking about. It's all in my book.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Lisa. Is there anything anybody wants to touch on before we leave? Everyone feels like they've received enough, they've given enough. Fantastic. Well, it's been an absolutely beautiful and epic call. A lot of shared value and received value. So I just want to take that moment to say thank you to each and every one of you for choosing to show up, be present, hold space for each other, as we've been sharing. And yeah, one of the things that I really encourage you to do, as always, share your 3 biggest takeaways, but also at the same time of that, look at how you can actually embody those takeaways and where you can be implementing them into your life right now. Because otherwise they're just going to come in and maybe pass. And there's a reason why we're all here for this on this call right now. So hopefully we'll be hearing about a divorce with Dave and my mum after the comment he made. I'm only joking. So I like giving Dave some stick. He's good fun. So go and enjoy your evening, your day, wherever you are in the world. Look forward to your 3 takeaways in the Your Desired Success group. And for those of you who are Gold Star members, I will see you in approximately 20 minutes. Bye for now.
See you Gold Stars soon.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.